Duncan McNabb here, Sunday the 23rd of February 2025, and the Beaumont abduction case is back in the news. Now, this happened in 1966. It's one of Australia's most lingering awful mysteries. And on that day, 26th of January 1966, in Adelaide at Glenelg Beach, a very crowded beach at that day, on that particular day, Jane, age 9, her sister Anna, age 7, and little brother Grant, age 5, disappeared, and they have never been seen since, in spite of an absolutely massive years-long police investigation to track them down. In the early 2000s, a very good suspect finally arose. Now, there have been plenty of suspects over the years, people confessing to it, for example, and well-known child molesters and pedophiles also were considered but eliminated for a lot of good reasons, chronology, geography, all those sorts of things. But one good suspect remains standing amongst all this, and his name is Harry Phipps. Now, Harry Phipps died many years ago, but Phipps was a well-to-do local Adelaide person, a prominent businessman. His house, a sort of gloomy looking place, is not very, very far from the beach where they disappeared, a couple of minutes walks tops. Harry Phipps publicly was a very popular local bloke. Very, very successful. He ran a mob called Cast Alloy, which is an automotive parts business in North Plympton, or Plympton North in Adelaide, not terribly far from Glenelg. Phipps, but behind closed doors at home, Phipps, according to his son Hayden, who is also no longer with us, he was an absolute monster, a drunk, incredibly violent, a sexual predator, a child molester, all sorts of horrid things. He also had a very strange penchant for satin fabric. A couple of years ago, before Hayden passed away, he gave a very detailed interview to a former detective called Bill Hayes, a terrific bloke. And in that, he detailed what his father was like. And he also said, and this is a striking stuff, that he had seen on the day of the Beaumont's disappearance, he had seen 3 kids answering their descriptions enter the back of his house and go inside with their father, and he didn't see them ever again. Now, this puts Harry significantly in the fit as a prime suspect. A bit of publicity around that prompted a very interesting reaction from 2 chaps now in their late middle age, possibly even slightly older, who reckoned that Harry Phipps had got them, a day or 2 after the Beaumont disappearance, had got them to go to his factory and dig a bloody great hole, about 6 foot deep, basically the size of a grave. He paid them in cash and wished them goodbye and don't come back. The prominence of Harry Phipps as a possible suspect prompted these blokes to contact the authorities and remember that many, many years ago they had dug this hole. This quite reasonably prompted police in 2013 to do an excavation of a small part of the Cast Alloy site. They didn't find anything at all. I got involved in the case back in 2017 when I was producing Murder Uncovered for the 7 Network, and my colleagues and I were looking around for stories that we thought we could do some good with, and the Beaumont case obviously was something we had to have a look at. Our team spent about on or off 6 months in and out of Adelaide going through the Harry Phipps story, looking at alternate suspects and either eliminating them or moving them up the list. After all this, Harry Phipps was still the dominant person. We interviewed people who'd known him. We also interviewed somebody who had been sexually assaulted by him years later. So we got a fairly comprehensive picture of what Phipps was genuinely like. Now, this prompted, with a bit of arm twisting of the South Australian Police, to have another excavation at the Cast Alloy site. And in going through the development process of this, we found that the original 2013 dig may not have been in the right spot. So we then did our own dig with the agreement of the South Australian Police and a few others to dig on the Cast Alloy site. We found, unfortunately, just animal bones. Now, there's another excavation happening this weekend and through the ensuing week at the Cast Alloy site. This will be the last chance. It's about to be fully redeveloped. So this is pretty much the last roll of the dice. Now, on the weekend, they started with the 2013 site just to make sure, good process of elimination. At the moment, at the time we're speaking, they're actually now re-excavating on the site we looked at in 2018 because very recently they found that a massive amount of top dressing was put at that site years later. So there is a reasonable chance that our excavation, with the assistance of the South Australian Police, I should add, didn't go deep enough. And there is also another potential site being identified. So, and the excavation will then go on to that. It's a process of elimination. These things are done forensically. It's like you just don't turn up with a shovel and dig. It has to be done scientifically. There are archaeologists on site. There are experts in excavation. There are presumably a forensic anthropologist somewhere just to identify what might be found. It is a painstaking forensic process. You just don't wander in and do your best. It has to be meticulously planned. Now, this excavation is in progress. For one who's lived with this for many, many years, I can only hope that finally the young Beaumont kids can be found. It just brings some peace to the community. Sadly, their parents, Jim and Nance, died some years ago. But while their marriage had failed over the years, both Jim and Nance had lived very close by, and as Nance once told a journalist, she didn't want to move from the area just in case the kids came home. It is an extraordinarily sad story, but maybe this week we may get some conclusion. I don't know. I'm delighted that this dig, which is privately funded apparently, is happening. I think it is incredibly important that it does so. So if something happens this week, I'll come back to you. It's not going to be quick. I reckon it's going to take another few days at least. So stay tuned. I'll update you when I hear more, and I've got all my fingers crossed that we can see some finality in the Beaumont case nearly 60 years after it started. Thank you.